Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the show. Today we'll try and get Chuck Schuldner's Sound of Perseverance guitar tone using the Marshall DSL 20H and some EQ running through the effects loop to try and simulate that contour tone on the 8100 that he used. I'm sure you're all aware that Chuck was a real minimalist when it came to his tone. He put all his effort into just making the music and writing the riffs rather than sitting there tinkering with tone like I do. In those later albums, he had his Marshall Valve State 8100 and he had his BC Rich stealth guitar that had that Damatio humbucker, the XN2 in it, which was like a ceramic bar magnet and quite high output, about 15.8K, and really sort of saturated in the high mids and things and was a real crunchy sort of pickup. And apart from that, he just had the chorus just running in the front end of the amp for his solos and leads and things. So it was a really straight up basic setup. But what we're running through today, I've got my Jackson Dominion Pro model, the Japanese model. I think it's about an '09 model. And they're not the stock pickups in it. They were SH1s from factory, but I've since changed them to the Duncan SH6s, which are ceramic magnets as well. And they're a little bit more abrasive and a little bit harder hitting than the SH1s, and I think they're perfect for this tone. And that's going into my pedal board here. Just a quick rundown of how the pedal board's set up. Everything here is in the front end of the amp. The Boss NS2's in the front, as well as the effects loop in the 4-cable method, and everything on the top here is running through the effects loop, though the carbon copy and the chorus are downstream of the noise gate. So the first pedal my guitar's going into is the Boss SD1 Super Overdrive. And this overdrive, I find it works really good with the Marshall. It's got a great tone to it. It's low on the bass, so it really tends to focus your guitar tone a lot. But usually I drive it so there's no drive at all, and it just tightens everything up and you get a tone that's more like a... And that's the tone I usually sort of go for when I'm driving the Marshall. But in this case, it's a little bit of a fatter tone and it's got more grit and crunch to it. And that's where this pedal shines, because as you turn up the drive, you get more of like a solid state crunch going on. And if you turn it up a little bit too much, you lose that crunch and it just starts to get a little bit flabby, but you get the idea. I think for this it sounds best around there. And you get the idea there. I think that works imperfectly. It's got that solid statey sort of crunch going on. It's working with the DSL, but it's just changing the front end enough. So that's all I've got running through the front end of the amp. And now up to the carbon copy delay and the chorus. Chuck turned these on for his solos or times when he just wanted to saturate the tone a bit more. adds a really cool dynamic to the tone and just really thickens up and makes certain parts pop out that you want. But now we get to the real meat of the tone, and it's the EQing the effects loop, and this is the most powerful tool you can have to sculpt your tone. I thought I'd just run through each of the EQs and how I use them in the effects loop, as they're just vastly different from each other. The one I'm using currently at the moment is the Master Effects EQ from Hell, and this is really powerful. In the effects loop, it dramatically changes the whole sound to the point where you don't even know what amp you're actually driving. It's just a really powerful EQ as far as parametric goes. The MXR 10 band in the loop, I tend to use these just to really cut out or push frequencies that I want to hear. It doesn't dramatically change the sound too much. It retains a lot of the amp nuances and things. You can just boost certain frequencies that you want, like a bit more bass or a little bit less treble. And it just works really well at that. And now we'll get to the Puppet Master EQ, and this is a really interesting EQ and definitely has its own personality and flavour that it adds to the tone. It's a lot more transparent than the EQ from Hell, and it just operates a fair bit different as well. It's missing the bandwidth dial, so that's actually hard-coded within this, so you can't actually change the Q. You can just change the frequency bands and the gain for each. But with the low, all you're doing is raising the bass. With the mid, as you turn it up, all you're doing is cutting the mids. And the high frequency works differently, as it's a high shelf frequency, so it raises the entire high end of the guitar tone. So it's interesting working with that high shelf, and you get some really sort of flamethrower, fireball sort of tone that can come out, especially with the Marshall. What I'll do now, we'll just go through each and make little adjustments, and you can really see or hear the difference that each of these EQs have on the tone. This is without any EQ. EQ from Hell. And now the MXR 10 band. Now to the Puppet Master EQ. And hopefully that gives you an idea with those EQs and just the total different tone that comes from each. And that's all going through the Marshall DSL here. You can see those settings, and it's a fantastic amp. It just takes pedals really well, and it's got a really solid foundation of a tone. It's got that classic sort of pushed modded JCM 800 vibe about it. I just love it. It's the coolest amp. So anyway, I hope that helps anyone just trying to dial this tone or give pointers to trying to dial it in with different bits of gear. But again, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again next week. Bye.